when Dianne Feinstein today says you lied, is she lying?
I'll go so far as to say she's incorrect. I mean, lying is intentionally misleading someone. All right. Let me make another distinction. Telling people something they don't want to hear is not the same thing as telling people something that is untrue.
All right. That was, of course, General Michael Hayden speaking with us exclusively yesterday as Dianne Feinstein was trashing him on the floor of the Senate. We're rejoined by Congresswoman Michele Bachmann. Congresswoman, what's your take on this whole thing? Why do you think Dianne Feinstein chose to put Americans at risk here and abroad and release this report?
I'm absolutely bewildered. I had lunch yesterday with a Democrat who serves with me on the Intelligence Committee, Dianne Feinstein being the chairman of Intelligence in the Senate. We, of course, are in the House of Representatives. The Democrat that I had lunch with was offended and bewildered and perplexed. He couldn't understand why in the world Dianne Feinstein did that. It made no sense. We deal with this issue every single day, and it's inexplicable why she would do this.
And isn't it, to the best of your knowledge, true that Dianne Feinstein was among those who were briefed all along on these tactics as they were being used and done and never said boo?
Of course, as was Speaker Nancy Pelosi. They all knew what was being done. And remember, we are living in a world where jihadists are regularly beheading innocent Americans despite negotiations and all the rest. They are taking the most innocent among us, journalists who are simply trying to cover news, or people who are aid workers who are trying to bring aid and assistance to Muslims who are being persecuted in the Middle East. These innocent people are the ones who are being beheaded in front of cameras. And so to say that the CIA, which is covertly trying to do everything that they can to keep the American people safe, is beyond the pale and inexplicable.
All right, let me ask you, we have now the revelation of a budget bill that will avert the shutdown. It seems like to me, and I'm looking at it from afar, that Republican leadership, John Boehner, has caved on every single issue, and a lot of conservatives are upset. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think that a lot of people have the right to be upset because they put the gavel not only in John Boehner's hands, but now in Mitch McConnell's hands, and they expect that Republicans will use that gavel. The results of the first Tuesday in November was not to give amnesty to millions of illegal aliens, nor was it to give out 5 million plus work permits to compete with American workers. That isn't what the election was about. People want us to stand up for American values and the American worker, and I agree with that assessment. In this bill, there is no defunding of the president's unconstitutional illegal work permits. And the president also wants to give $1 billion of money toward public assistance of unaccompanied minors. This again is not what the voters asked.
So what? How do you explain what Boehner? How do you explain what Boehner and McConnell have done? Did they sell out, break their promise?
They don't want to fight. They don't want to fight. And what they're claiming is that there will be a government shutdown. I don't believe that. I don't agree with that. I believe that we could 100% fund government, 99.999%, except for the little tiny bit that would pay for the illegal work permits. That's the only portion that we wouldn't fund. Everything else would get funded, and they don't want the fight.
Let me ask you a question. You've been treated so unfairly by the media, you, Sarah Palin, any female conservative, it seems, you as well. Let me put up a Newsweek cover that made you look, the queen of rage, just outrageous stuff. We have friends at Mediaite today. Farewell, Michelle. Watch 8 of the craziest things Bachmann has ever said. How do you feel about the way the media has treated you?
Well, one thing that I thought was very interesting, you mentioned the Newsweek cover that was put up about me. At the same time, Newsmax also did a cover on me. It was a beautiful cover. It was a straight-on photo, and they just told the straight story. So Newsweek was fair and balanced.
You mean Newsmax was fair and balanced?
I'm sorry. Newsmax was straight and balanced and straightforward and told the story. And you saw the side-by-side of the over-the-top bias that came out of Newsweek versus the fair coverage. Again, it wasn't meant just to be laudatory. It was fair coverage.
So is it okay? Is it okay? We only have 45 seconds for the media to trash Republican women the way they do conservative blacks. Does that seem to be the rule?
That is their rule because it's advocacy journalism. It certainly isn't unbiased. And that's why we need alternative sources like Newsmax. Thank God for you guys.
What advice do you have for conservative women in politics?
Well, just tell the truth and don't whine. I never whined about the negative media coverage because ultimately I take a long view. The truth does prevail. And the other thing is that Reagan understood. He had terrible news coverage, but he spoke through the media and over their heads straight into the hearts of the American people.
Congresswoman,
and I agree with Reagan.
Come back. God bless you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you,
God
Congresswoman
bless.
Michele Bachmann. We're coming back. Don't go away, folks.